History Things podcast, a conversational approach to discussing social, industrial, maritime, music, and military history. Join us and our special guests as we dive down the rabbit holes of your favorite stories from the past. Follow the History Things podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts or online at Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Be sure to leave a review and a 5-star rating on your favorite podcast app. Pat and Parker are coming right up. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoy the show.
It's the most wonderful time of the year, with the kids jingle belling and everyone telling you be of good cheer. It's the most wonderful time of the year. It's the
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the History Things podcast end-of-year holiday special. I'm your host, Pat McGuire, Slancha and Tancha. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's, Happy Holidays. We hope you've been enjoying your time. If you're listening to this on episode drop day, it is New Year's Eve. That means it is the very end of 2025. It means it is also the very end of 2006. And as is custom in our holiday episodes, we're going to be merry, we're going to be festive, and we're going to be haunted by several Christmas ghosts. First, the Ghost of Christmas Past. We're going to take a look back at the season 6 in this case. We're going to look at the absolute insanity and wild ride that it inevitably became. We're also going to be visited by the Ghost of Christmas Present. A bit of an administrative update on sort of how things are going to be operating here on the History Things podcast. And of course, looking ahead with the Ghost of Christmas yet to come, with the look into season 7, where we talk to a lot more of our friends, both new and old, about some of our favorite topics. And we're going to be once again boldly going, as Parker, my co-host, who's not here this holiday season, a bit under the weather, once again into places that we've never explored here on the podcast. So very exciting times. But before we get to all things update and all things yet to come here on the show, let's take a look back at season 6 and some of the absolutely amazing conversations we've had along the way. What's up, everybody? Letting that one ride a few extra measures. It is a brand new world here on the History Things podcast. Parker, welcome to the show for the first time officially as the co-host, buddy. Say hey to the world out there. Woo! Parker Russell.
Hey. Hi, everybody. Thank you very much for that awesome introduction. It's a little surreal. Feels great.
Dude, this is exciting, man.
I'm actually really, really excited. I had that moment where, of course, when I sat down in the chair, I knew what was going to happen today. And then, like, just now, it just hit me. This is it.
So on a scale of 1 to 100, 100 being I'm so nervous, can't talk, breathing into a paper bag.
Yeah.
Where are you today?
I'm not quite into the bag. I'm extremely excited about
You're not in the bag?
I'm not in the bag.
You can't be in the bag as the host of the show, by the way. We need you sober. We need you firing.
Yeah, I'm not in the bag.
Eric, like 2 to 3 months after that, like literally came out of the woods work and on Culp's Hill and introduced himself to me and Bob.
Like
Steenstra.
actually emerged from the woods?
Yeah, we were out there. Bob
so
Steenstra was, yeah, it is. Well, because we noticed this guy, this big burly guy with a checkered flannel shirt, and a big bushy beard, and a Spanish-American War campaign hat.
He was wearing that.
Yeah. And which I thought really looked cool on him. He really wore that well. And so we see him, and it's like this cold March, foggy, rainy day in Culp's Hill. Not too cold, like 50 degrees or whatever. And he's just kind of like walking around, and then he'd disappear, and then he'd walk, and then he'd emerge from somewhere else, and it's kind of like
he's an apparition.
Like but an apparition that's closing in on us, right?
Yeah. He just goes there and broods in the woods. Did you know that? Like, he doesn't do anything. He just sits there and he's like
what he was
mysterious.
doing. Surrounded by Union soldiers. There's officers, of course, right?
Yeah.
Even, I believe, General Howard goes over to the house. And at no point does anybody
He said,
say...
Howard, you doing?
Does he do this with Scott Hartwig when he's on? Or
No, he was not here for
okay.
Hartwig.
I was
You were here for Hartwig 3.
Yeah. Hartwig 3.
I want the same treatment as Scott Hartwig.
I'm trying to give it to you, brother.
I'm sorry. I'll be stoic from here on
Every
out.
time you try to tell a story, Parker's like,
I know. Okay, a lot of people around town were saying that
I'm
she
suspicious
was
of
actually
this. Yeah.
a Confederate sympathizer.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Well, while down there, she sneaks across the line and has an illicit affair with Robert E. Lee.
That's it.
Does she really?
She does.
Yeah.
And gets a bun in the oven.
That's it.
Okay?
That's
It's
it.
Bobby Lee's baby.
It's Bobby Lee's bun. And that is why
And Jackson
Lee
finds
invaded,
out.
No, that is why Lee invaded Pennsylvania and brought the army to Gettysburg.
It's just to take her out.
to
The
take
whole
her out.
thing was just
Imagine
a
the
giant
scandal.
conspiracy.
Imagine, just think about it. Everybody at home's like, "Oh my God, that's all." No. Imagine the scandal, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, my.
Imagine
The thing about Jackson gets
It's that
taken out
marble.
by is that he found out. He knew too
Jackson
much.
knew, and Lee's like,
North Carolina, I need you to take him out.
"I just had a meeting with Jackson, and I told him."
I ordered
I
reconnaissance.
said, "You should do the reconnaissance yourself, Jack." So anyway, that's
love
why the Battle of Gettysburg
I love it.
was, and that's why Jenny Wade died.
Us supporting my theory that this was an inside job. They
Well,
took her out.
Okay,
Somebody
so
took her out.
now let's get to the conspiracy theory.
Okay, do it now.
The conspiracy theory is this. Now, Jack Skelly is in the 87th Pennsylvania. Now, they're not up here, or they're not up at Gettysburg, excuse me, at the time. In fact, they were routed at 2nd Winchester, and Jack lay wounded, mortally wounded, in the field.
You will not be needing me.
Right.
My
No
dough,
more.
my dough will remain here
That's right.
to molder in the ground.
Oh, Jenny. When a wisp of wind
Seamus O'Flanagan
blows across
fly
your
on.
ear, know that it is me, breathing my rancid dead man breath over your shoulder.
Oh,
right, so-
wow.
So he's down there, and this is where Wesley Culp comes across him. Wesley Culp, a Gettysburg boy who
Yeah.
fights for the Confederacy, comes across him. He's like, "Well, hey there, Jack." And he's like, "Oh, how you doing, Wesley?" And he goes, "I'm better looking than you are right now, Jack. You don't look too good there."
Jack's like, I'm half in the other world. You just wait. I can see.
right.
You're going to be joining me, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, you don't have much longer to go. And we'll take care of this later.
I hope you have fun going home.
Yeah, say hi to your mother
Yeah.
for me. So it's like
They're sexting.
Probably sexting. Yeah, exactly.
Where they're from? Where are they from in Pennsylvania?
Gettysburg.
So they're like probably German.
Skelly. What is that? That's like Irish.
I don't know. I was just looking for. Yeah, the sea.
Wade
That's
and
right. Look what
Wade.
I found
Yeah.
in the field.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, gee, Jenny, look what I be doing down here in Virginia.
Right. Jenny, touch my.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, but when you need the dough,
When you need the dough, it's okay to pull the plug.
Oh,
I
boy.
understand the war is. I don't know
I
what
cannot
that
wait for
accent
the
is.
war to end for you to need my dough, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh, boy.
I'll be needing to put down a good plow in upon return. The traditional history audience fucking hates me.
Yeah, they
they're
hate-
seething right now.
They're not.
They're like, be
enjoying this.
reverent, okay?
Right.
They were in love.
They were in love, and they're dead. She
To
died.
answer the question, it's really interesting because what we find out, and of course, what a lot of us, I mean, it's not necessarily a secret now, but when I was a kid, it certainly was a secret. And for a very long time, it was a secret about what Robert Ballard was really doing when he was looking for the Titanic.
I love
And-
how frank he was. He was like, I wasn't supposed to find it.
Yeah.
My commanding officer directly said, you're not supposed to find it. In fact, the French are supposed to find it. And we're
he was supposed to film it.
Just film it, things like that. And then, oops, I found it.
There's in his book Into the Deep, there is a pitch that he made to one of his superior officers. The name escapes me, but there's in his book he talks about making a pitch that eventually gets to Ronald Reagan's desk, And the pitch is imagine America being the team that finds the Titanic, and a picture our cameras in the ballroom of the Titanic.
Oh,
picture
USA.
USA. Picture how the Russians are going to feel about that. And reportedly,
they're still pissed about the moon landing.
Yeah, and apparently Ronald Reagan was like, "I love it. Go for it."
Nice.
Now, what's interesting for those who are listening who don't actually know, let's bring them up to speed a little bit. When Robert Ballard when he found the Titanic in 1985, he was in fact contracted by the Navy to be searching for 2 lost nuclear submarines from the Cold War era.
Right, the Scorpion and the Thresher.
Yeah, and they don't, as Bob Ballard said, they don't like to leave those things laying about. They want you to go find those and bring those back in. And he found it. And the interesting thing is while he was looking for the Thrasher, it actually taught him something about finding the Titanic. And that is, you don't look for the ship.
You look for where it's not, and you look for the debris.
You look for where it's not, and you look for the debris field.
Right.
And because he was able to locate those subs using the debris field, he was like, light bulb moment. Also, very interestingly, for those of you, because I don't think we really talked too much about the discovery of the Titanic on those White Star episodes. I don't think we really talked too much about it. But what's really interesting is that the French came so close to discovering it. Jean-Louis Michel missed it. And remember, I'm talking in terms of the ocean, right? We're talking about a vast... the Titanic, really, as big as it is a needle in a haystack.
And this question is for you, Jeff. What was it like? Because I imagine we're close in age. So what was it like growing up in public school when your dad is connected to so many like famous athletes and you get to meet a bunch of them on a more regular basis than I would say? Like I rode in an elevator with Cal once and that was random and that was incredible. But like I heard in just the Christmas episode alone that, you had great conversations with like, the name's escaping me, but you guys were talking to some Hall of Famer and I was like, wow, I wonder how that was just growing up, getting to be that way. And then going to school. I think
you're thinking about the Lou Brock story
yes.
At Cooperstown.
I was thinking of Lou Brock, yes.
It's really funny because when it came to the day-to-day, growing up in Montgomery County, Maryland, going to Jones Lane Elementary School, right, all of my buddies, all of my pals who I'm still friends with to this day, my idiot moron friends who I love and adore, and I'm one of them. It was always funny because none of them really, of course they knew who my dad was. They're all sports fanatics, but it really wasn't until they got to college when they were casually chatting with their roommates and friends on their floor. And they go, oh yeah, my buddy's dad is Tim Kirkshin. And they never really understood the awesomeness of that. They just remember Mr. Kirkshin who made chocolate chip pancakes at the sleepover in the morning in the 3rd grade, right? Because, he's my dad.
Good dad move, by the way. Good dad.
Every Wednesday, chocolate chip pancakes. We did that. And remember the old show Cold Pizza?
Yes.
Remember that on ESPN?
Yes.
Yeah. Every time Dad would go on Cold Pizza, we would have cold pizza for lunch. We would have pizza the night before, and it would be in a baggie in lunch the next day.
That is legendary.
I love it.
If Dad was on Cold Pizza, he wasn't able to. He was always up with us in the morning. He's the most present dad. Obviously, I've only had one, but I never felt like the one question I get all the time is, was Dad home? Was your dad home a lot? He never missed a field trip, never missed a birthday, and my birthday's in August, right in the middle of the baseball season. Good planning, Dad. And never missed any of those moments, and I'm so appreciative of that. When it came to meeting celebrities and meeting baseball stars, it sounds very selfish. I think the thing it did best for me was it was real-life examples of putting on your big boy pants, even though you're 9 years old, and having an adult conversation with an adult, right?
Yeah.
My dad took me to the Cal Ripken Tony Gwynn induction in Cooperstown, and I had the chance to be his +1 at the big gala with all of the Hall of Famers and their wives and just a few writers and staff. And I had to grow up in those moments of being like, I can't embarrass my father, who I have all of the respect in the world for, but I also want to get a genuine connection with these people. So I had to learn how to be very adult, very quick, look you in the eye, shake your hand, ask good questions, answer with good answers. So I think if anything, it really taught me how to be the communicator and broadcaster that I am today by being thrust into these situations.
I mean, far and wide, from Maine to California, They're looking to get anybody that knows anything, and they receive a letter from an individual named, I believe, Abram Graves is his name, and he was an old mining engineer from Denver, Colorado, and he sends this letter that says that he grew up in Cooperstown, New York, and that he was there in, I believe, 1838 or 1839 when Abner Doubleday, another local youth, and him and several of their playmates from the local academy, the Otsego Academy there, went and created baseball in Cooperstown, New York, and that's the origin of baseball. And of course, for the listeners that may or may not know this, but Pat knows this, and Parker may know this, but Abner Doubleday becomes, one, he's a graduate of the military academy at West Point, New York, 1842 graduate. He is a Mexican-American War veteran. And because he's a Mexican-American War veteran, he continues to serve in a variety of different garrison duties, including ending up at Fort Moultrie and Fort Sumter at the kickoff of the American Civil War. So he is now a focal figure at the beginning of the American Civil War, which is this cornerstone moment in the United States that everybody now is looking back with reverence and awe.
I always forget that Abner Doubleday is with Major Anderson at Sumter.
Yeah. And so, he's second in command. So he's not only there, he's the one that fires the first cannon, or sights the first cannon, fires it. He's second in command. But because of his experience at Fort Sumter, and because he's a West Point grad, he's very quickly promoted through the ranks as a brigadier general, major general. He fights with the Army of the Potomac from the peninsula through Bronner's Farm, Second Manassas, Antietam, Fredericksburg, Bill, and of course, for what most people know, the name Doubleday would be July 1st at Gettysburg. And, you know, for our listeners who may or may not like the Civil War, Gettysburg is it, right? You don't have to know anything about the Civil War to know Gettysburg.
Big deal.
Doubleday?
Big deal.
Big deal.
For baseball? Yeah. I mean,
Right.
even 50, 60 years after the Civil War is over, those names are about as American as apple pie, right? And so now you have this central figure who is no longer living at the turn of the 20th century, and somebody wrote a letter stating that this guy created baseball, and that guy was there, and nobody investigates the veracity of this claim. Nobody, they take it all at face value, going, because Spalding, who set up Mills and the commission, were like, bingo, that's what we wanted.
Well, that was the most powerful night that I've ever spent in a major league ballpark, was 2-1, 3-1. And even though we kind of knew what was going to happen, you know there's not going to be like a walk-off homer. We know where the drama is coming, but we didn't even know what the drama was going to be. But you really had to be there for the anticipation of everything, the buildup, the home runs that he hit in 2-1, 2-9, and then 2-1, 3-0, and then, of course, in 2-1, 3-1. I had a dear friend of mine, Bob Elliott, who's in the Baseball Writers Hall of Fame, like I am. He went in years and years ago. And he didn't know Ripken particularly well, and he just kind of parachuted in on the morning of 2-1, 3-1. So he comes up to me, and he's a really great writer and a dear friend and a very sensitive guy. But he says, Tim, I don't get it. I don't feel it. I don't see it. I don't get it. Like, what's the big deal here? We know what's going to happen. And I said, Boxer, I don't know what's going to happen, but let's wait till the fifth inning. Let's wait until the game is made official, and then we'll figure it out from there. So, of course, game becomes official. Ripken makes the unforgettable 22-minute run around the stadium, pointing at people, patting his heart. People are literally weeping in the crowd. And it was one of the most amazing human moments that I have ever seen in a major league park, if not the most human moment I've ever seen. So when it's all over, It's now, they've started play again after 22, 25 minutes. And Bob Elliott, my dear friend, comes up to me, Toronto baseball writer. He's got tears in his eyes, and he says, okay, I get it.
Awesome night. We've seen Cal a bunch, taking a couple laps around the field, handshakes around, nostalgia on the board all night.
We are 3 outs away from seeing the Dodgers go hit the Orioles. How historic would be if Matt Holliday strikes out? 1 out away from a Dodgers no-hitter. Camden Yards is all in speed. It doesn't matter. Oh my God! What a historic night of baseball! 30 years ago, Cal Ripken breaks the streak. Tonight, Orioles come back down 3 runs in the 9th inning, down to their last out, and they just walked off the game. Oh my God! Oh my God! Let's go! Let's go! By the way, go Yankees! All right, Parker, let's talk about Bloody Sunday.
All right.
So the day is going to begin with an IRA operation. It's going to be organized by Michael Collins, and its goal is to assassinate the Cairo gang. Michael Collins, again, Minister of Finance, Director of Intelligence, leader of the the assassination part of the IRA movement, justified the killings on the morning of Bloody Sunday in this way. He said, quote, "My intention was the destruction of the undesirables who continued to make miserable the lives of ordinary, decent citizens. I have proof enough to assure myself of the atrocities which this gang of spies and informers have committed. If I had a second motive, it was no more than a feeling of such as I would have for a dangerous reptile. But by their destruction, the very air is made sweeter. For myself, my conscience is clear. There is no crime in detecting in wartime the spy and the informer. They have destroyed without trial. I have paid them back in their own coin." So, later that afternoon, British forces are going to respond by raiding a Gaelic football match at Croke Park, which is Dublin's GAA grounds. GAA is the Gaelic Athletic Association. Black and Tans and Auxies, as well as British soldiers, are going to be sent there in response to the morning's killings to carry out what is officially known as a cordon and search operation.
Do you maybe want to go into what a cordon and search operation is for anyone who...
Yeah, they're basically going to isolate people and search them just to see who's got what on them. And their hope is, because these killings have been so widespread across the city, that one of the places they might hide is in this very out in the open public gathering at the GAA match, at the Dublin versus Tipperary match of Gaelic football.
Okay.
And the goal with ticket sales was to raise money for the Republican Prisoners Dependent Fund. So essentially, you get grabbed under the Restoration of Order Act, and you're in jail indefinitely. You're not even charged with anything yet, but your family has still got to eat, and They're relying on you. So the money from this match is being raised to go towards the dependents of these essentially political prisoners.
Yeah, of course.
Despite the general unease throughout all of Dublin's population as the news of the assassination spread, at least 5,000 spectators attended the match at Croke Park. 10 minutes into the match, a convoy of troops in trucks and 3 armored cars are going to drive in from the north, and they're going to halt along the Cunliffe Road. A second convoy of RIC police are going to drive in from the southwest along Russell Street and Jones Road.
Oh, it's my street.
Yeah, that's right. That one's comprised of 12 trucks of black and tans in front and 6 trucks of Oxys behind. Several other plainclothes auxiliaries also rode in front with the black and tans. Their orders were to surround Croke Park, guard the exits, and search every man. Now, the police in the convoy's leading trucks appeared to have jumped out, run down the passage to Canal End Gate, forcing their way through the turnstiles and started firing rapidly with their rifles and revolvers. Ireland's Freeman's Journal reported that, quote, the spectators were startled by a volley of shots fired from inside the turnstile entrances. Armed and uniformed men were seen entering the field, and immediately after the firing broke out, scenes of the wildest confusion took place. The spectators made a rush for the far side of Croke Park, and shots were fired over their heads and into the crowd.
The day of battle on April 9th is going to be to the west because Lee is going to try to break out. So he goes on a 22-mile ride so he can get over where Sheridan and Ord are, that blocking force. You know, he wants to be on hand where this critical action is going to take place. Grant has no idea Lee will surrender on April 9th when he leaves Meade's headquarters the morning of April 9th.
I find it interesting that on the night of the 8th, they're getting correspondence directly from Grant, and they still are like, it's only cavalry. Like, wherever Grant is, the army is. And if he's close enough to get you a letter, the army is close enough to get you a letter, right?
They're not just going to send Grant out
so
there.
It's curious to me that it's like, man, like in this moment, and I it's a theme on this show. I'm so grateful I get to study these people and talk about them versus having to make the real-time decisions and feel all the weight of the moment that these guys are all feeling. But it's just like, how is there still this, is it an illusion? Like, are they in denial? Like, that we can get away?
He wrote me, said my army can't resist. He wants us done by 1866. And when Andrew surrendered up, I felt compelled to sign a special little order called Lee's Order Number 9.
So she's already in an increasingly fragile state by the time the verdict comes down. The trial ends, and she's sitting there. She's sitting in her little bitty cell for a week, waiting for word. She does not know, nobody knows, except the 9 on the tribunal, that they had voted her guilty, but were very reluctant to vote for her death, to have the death sentence. I think it took a 5 out of 4 majority to convict, but you needed at least 6, if not unanimous, to impose the death penalty. And they really didn't want to. So somebody had the bright idea to make a clemency plea, attach that to the findings, to the verdict, and send it directly to the president. So we're passing the buck. We're going to ask for mercy from the president himself to commute her sentence to life in prison. And Mr. Johnson will later claim he never saw any such paper.
Well, I take his word and throw it about as far as I can throw Parker here.
And for those just listening to the audio, I'm a fairly large guy. So. Yeah,
so
Andrew
she
Johnson's
does finally get the word. It's, you are guilty, and you will be hanged between like 10 and 2 tomorrow.
Wow.
And they're all the prisoners, and they can hear the gallows being built the next day. The folks at the prison have got to hustle because they've got to assemble a guard. They've got to build a quadruple gallows. Even finally, Powell even starts to waver. His composure through the trial has been cause for attention. People really marveled at how calm and cool he was, as opposed to Harold. Was he the youngest?
Harold's
maybe?
a mess.
He's
Harold is an absolute mess during this trial.
He's a young man, and he's acting like he's sitting in a boring schoolroom, you know, like putting his feet up on the rails
Yeah.
and just acting like a kid.
That's what I mean. Like, dude he's not
Yeah.
falling apart. He's just like, dude, do you know that your life is
Yeah.
on the line right now?
Yeah, it's like he doesn't know.
No.
But Powell did kind of start to crumble. And right near the end, I think it's the morning of the execution, he says, if I had 2 lives to give, I would give one so that Mrs. Surratt would live. Because he feels a tremendous burden of guilt that it was his presence on her doorstep that midnight that led to her arrest.
We also took our annual trip out into the field, this time following in the footsteps of one of America's most notorious killers, presidential assassin and murderer John Wilkes Booth. We followed his flight from Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. to just south of Port Royal, Virginia, where he was inevitably caught up with by federal cavalry, cornered and shot to death on April 26, 1865.
Welcome, everyone, to History Things podcast from the field 2025. We are standing today in Washington, D.C. We're going to be following, this year, we're going to be following the route of John Wilkes Booth.
Behind me here, you can see the balcony, which changed the trajectory of America forever. Abraham Lincoln was sitting there just about 10 o'clock p.m. with his family when the assassin John Wilkes Booth came in and shot him in the back of the head.
But he makes his escape through the back of the theater, through these doors, and into this alley, and he makes his escape.
Jumping off the stage, riding out of the city on a horse, flexing his fame, and then having that same horse that he rode out on fall while going up a hill, crushing his ankle as it rolled.
Here is the home of Dr. Samuel Hine, very controversial figure, one of the conspirators of the Lincoln assassination. He will then be taken inside of the Peterson House, which is behind me here, where several hours will transpire, essentially as people stand around and wait for the president to breathe his final.
We're here today on the 16th of April, 1865, in the early morning hour. We just left Samuel Mudd's house, Dr. Samuel Mudd.
You might be able to see the Potomac River behind me here. And looking directly from this perspective over into Virginia, it might seem like a pretty straightforward shot. However, this is a very foggy day when they attempt to do this.
We're 10 days out from the murder of the century. Presidential murderer John Wilkes Booth is still on the run as of April 24th, 1865. He's fled Washington.
Yep.
He has gotten himself some much-needed medical attention.
Yep.
He's been catching up with the papers and stuff, and then finally, most importantly, he is now crossed the Potomac.
So we're here in historic Bowling Green, Virginia, as Parker said behind us is the building that was once known as the Star Hotel. But it's here about just a few dozen yards or so behind us. We're in the very early morning hours of April 26, 1865. The 16th New York Cavalry is going to corner John Wilkes Booth and David Harrell. Boston Corbett is a sergeant in the 16th New York Cavalry. He will allege that John Wilkes Booth will raise that Spencer carbine rifle that he had picked up at the Surratt Tavern just about 10 days or so before, 12 days or so before. Sergeant Corbett will say that he'll raise that carbine at Union soldiers outside, and as such, Boston Corbett with his sidearm will shoot the presidential assassin, John Wilkes Booth.
Stories of guys having amputations near Manassas and having to walk back to D.C. because they couldn't get transportation.
Wasn't it at Manassas just a few years ago where they uncovered like a whole
Yes.
pile of...
Yes.
Yeah,
Melissa,
surgeon's
you want
pit,
to talk about that? Because Melissa tried to find it.
I would love to hear about that
She
story.
tried to
yeah.
find it. She runs on the battlefield, and then she's like, I think I found it. And then, you know,
I was determined to find out where that was located, yes. So I believe actually it was 2017 or 2018 when they actually uncovered it. And they were doing some work on the battlefield, putting in electricity in a shed or something like that. And in doing so, uncovered a surgeon's pit.
Yeah.
And in the surgeon's pit, I don't know the exact contents, but They found some amputated limbs, and so that is the only surgeon's pit that has ever been found on a Civil War battlefield.
The only one?
Yeah, they found two full sets of remains, and I think those gentlemen were reinterred in Arlington Cemetery.
They were, yes.
But yeah, that the big relevance was that this was a surgeon's pit because there was lots of feet and hands.
It's almost impossible to think that they've not uncovered one somewhere else when you think about 60,000 amputations. And all of the different battlefields and how much digging there has been done.
Right. Well, here's something Parker and I have learned in our pursuit of history and things like that. So back in the initial months of the pandemic when we were all sitting at home, and then it morphed into, okay, you can go out but be away from other people.
Yeah.
Parker and I, Titanic is a huge part of the history of our show. We've covered it at length.
Okay.
There are
it's a long ship.
There are a couple survivors of
it's a pretty big story.
You're fired. You're fired right now.
This is terrible. You guys got fired.
Yeah, right on the show. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the History Things podcast. What a jaunty tune to get started here.
What dulcet tones are we listening to today?
Very fancy. I found this one when I was researching for today's episode off of an album called Liners of the Golden Era, a musical tribute, Volume 1. This song is called the Cunard Line March Vintage.
Wow.
Which is appropriate because today we're here to do a long-awaited sort of, I don't want to call it a follow-up because this isn't part of that other story, but in a way it is. Parker, you will remember way back in season 1 when you were merely just a guest of the show.
What?
Friend of ours hanging out in the old version 1 studio.
Oh, yes.
We told a very long and incredible story about our
just 3 dudes hanging out in a closet, man. That's all it was.
Totally normal experience. But we told a very long story about, something very near and dear to our hearts. That is the White Star Line. I am repping my Titanic sweatshirt today. Parker, I know, is repping a Titanic undershirt there. We apparently don't own any swag from the rival company. It's like, listen, that's 1754, where they're already aware that the tactics versus the tactics are out of line with each other.
Yeah, and the big thing, though, pervading the Army mentality is that the Indians anyways will not stand up and fight. That they will scatter. It will scatter and run. Now we're talking, as we're starting to talk about tactics and weapons, we should point out with these 3 columns, there is infantry in the field too.
Yes.
Obviously with Custer, we're talking more cavalry. But, the cavalry tactics still call for dismounted skirmish lines and things of that nature. But again, the premise is you're likely going to be shooting at the enemy at long distances because they're going to run and scatter and they're not going to really stand up and fight anyways, which means you also don't really care if you're outnumbered. And again, this is not Jim talking. This is the mentality,
the logic of the
logic.
Well,
so you don't really care if you're outnumbered or maybe even outgunned because they're not going to stand and fight anyway.
Another group of people did that, if I remember correctly, and that was the Revolutionary War era colonists, right?
This is a big one. I'm excited to have my wife on the show with us today, and the reason for that is because in the course of the first half of season 6, we hit a huge milestone for the show. We hit episode 100, which was a very cool moment. One I'm very proud of. One I think everybody at the table is very proud of. And I'm sure that our former co-host Matt Borders is very proud of, who had a huge part of that. So first and foremost, a shout out to Matt Borders, just to say, hey man, we got to 100. We wish you'd been there for all of it, man. But we got a ton of time with you, and it was awesome. So we hope you're still listening and doing the good work out there. So we're celebrating 100 years. Wow, we're so old. Can I tell you, though, I do feel 100 years older being 5 years, 6 seasons into the show.
6 months as a co-host, I feel like it's been 100 years.
Let's ask my wife a quick question.
Yeah.
Let's
Hello.
talk about Titanic.
I was going to say, how do we have an episode about 100
What's
100 episodes without
Yeah.
Titanic.
Well, it's on the wall. He's sitting next to the guy that founded the
It
company.
gave us Backy. The White Star episode gave us Thomas Backy.
So I'm gonna throw a softball here.
I know what he's gonna do here.
When you think about Titanic, what comes to mind, sweetheart?
It's such a great love story.
There it is.
Jack and Rose, like such great songs, such iconic songs.
So
Come
were
on.
you disappointed in our episode when that was not the spine of our Titanic episode?
Yes, like you should have been focusing on Jack and Rose. I don't know why.
Marylanders are quick to join the other colonies in war. They're not as quick to join in the actual idea of independence.
So they're ready to fight but not do much legislating?
Nice. And what I mean by that is, in 74, when all this is going on and things are really ramping up, Maryland kind of overhauls its militia system to build up minute companies, just like we see the Minutemen up in New England or in Virginia. When the shooting starts, Marylanders are going to be some of the first non-New England troops on the scene. They raised 2 rifle companies in what was then Frederick County, Maryland, basically everything from Carroll County west.
Right, exactly.
And they're going to be raised, June 14th, 1775, Congress authorizes the creation of these Continental rifle companies, and those companies will assemble in Frederick later that summer, and they'll march up to Boston. They're in Cambridge like 20 days later. They do this.
That's the Beeline March.
The Beeline March.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, we don't want to take it away from the Virginians, but yeah, it's the same march. It's the same company.
Why can't we take it? Virginia wants everything. Why can't we just try to take it from them? That's right. No time to catch your breath, because once again, it's time for that annual visit from our very good friend, Kyle Dalton. Kyle Dalton, welcome back to the History Things podcast. How are you, big guy?
Doing good. Buenos dias, hermanos.
Dude, I'm excited. You're probably this has got to be a thing now. Just the yearly story time with Kyle Dalton. We've done this 3 seasons in a row now. They've been bangers all the time. I'm very excited. So we've caught up with you in the past. We've talked about British sailors chugging along in the French and Indian War out in the frontier of Pennsylvania with Braddock. We've talked about how a family was divided quite literally by the American Civil War, a road literally dividing the family's homesteads with the Union Mills. What are we talking about today?
Well, I figured we've, done, I'm an early American specialist, of course, but we've done French and Indian War, 1750s. We've done Civil War, 1760s. I wanted to chronologically break it up. We're going to go right in the middle, 1790s. We're also going to change it geographically a lot. We're going 3,000 miles away from Maryland and the Chesapeake. We're going to go to the Pacific coast of California.
Matt, did you check with our accountant? Do we have enough miles to do this, like air miles?
I could pack up and go if you guys.
Yeah, I feel like you're ready to now. Just like, so we got to get on the
Now,
flight
you
right
hail
now.
from that part of the world, correct?
I do, yeah. Actually, so today we're going to be talking about a poisoning in early California. Specifically, one of my ancestors, my 6th great-grandfather, Gerardo Gonzalez.
Are we taking our second step into true crime? Because we did the
little bit, yeah.
We did Lizzie Borden, and that was as much history as
well,
it
actually,
is true crime.
one of the reasons I was thinking this would be good is I listened to your episode with Dana Schoaf about murder on the Potomac.
Oh, we've actually done.
You've done a couple true
We've done a
crimes.
couple
Yes, we
true
have.
crimers.
Yeah.
We're branded now. We know.
So, we're going to talk about Gerardo Gonzalez and his poisoning death. Or at least we're going to examine, was it really poisoning? Were the perpetrators who they thought they were? We're going to get into that. But I'm also trying to use this as a way of looking at early California history as a whole.
The war not going well. And so they're they're again having to gear up the war effort. And so on July 22nd is when we have on July 17th is when the Second Confiscation Act is passed. And that one is a little more, is again adding more clarity to this idea of emancipation. And it says that a person that is engaged in rebellion from any place occupied by rebel forces that comes into U.S. lines is forever free. So it's now defining freedom as forever free. Now, again, the question is, what does forever mean? Forever during the war? Is it actually forever?
Right.
I hate that. Like, forever should mean forever. Like, there should be no nuance to that. That's pretty clear.
Pat, forever should mean forever.
That's right. My God.
No, it's important that the Second Confiscation Act also actually calls on Lincoln to use his executive orders to issue an Emancipation Proclamation. So when Lincoln signs the act, he's actually signing an act calling on himself. So obviously by that point, I mean, we now know Lincoln has written the document already.
Right.
And in fact, it's 5 days later that he shows it to his cabinet. We talked about that on July 22nd. And the decision is made to wait until a battlefield victory. The Second Confiscation Act also amended the Militia Act of there are two different acts, but there's the Militia Act of 1862 was passed the same day, July 17th. And that amends the Militia Act of 1792 that had banned black men from serving in the U.S. military.
The 1792 one banned it.
Exactly.
And now they undid that. Okay.
Exactly, yeah. And so that, again, that's not Congress specifically authorizing the War Department to begin recruiting African-American troops, but
it's not.
They've removed the roadblock.
It removed the roadblock for Lincoln to do so.
That's already pretty well known. So I Dinwiddie sort of probably feels emboldened by that to be like, all right, let's get things rolling.
Do you think that Dinwiddie ever got made fun of for his name? As in Dimwitty?
People hated Dinwiddie.
Oh, okay, so
I'm sure that was I mean, do you have, so to answer his question, do you have any like examples of that exact diss? But I'm sure that diss came out somewhere.
1750s Parker would be making fun of his name. I'm just putting that out there.
Until he found out.
Right.
That's
I'm sure, who knows? Maybe if we...
Worth dying for. I stand by that pun, sir.
It could be like a thing though that, if you like looked, I'm sure probably Franklin would be the one to be like, Dinwiddie.
Good old Dimwitty.
Dimwitted, more like it.
Everybody laughs because Franklin's hilarious.
You're a genius.
And then he's like, shut up,
don't go into my business.
Go hold this kite in the storm.
Yeah.
All right, so he's not going to sit in this field, right?
No. And so, it's
50 people, let's get them.
All right. So it's the night of May 28th. And so Washington basically, he hears word that the French are basically like lying down in this like low lying kind of area. A glen, if you will.
A glen.
and so he's kind of told that like Washington later would use the word skulking, that the French were skulking in a low place. It's important to keep in mind too, that throughout this night, it is pouring down rain. Like it is like kind of like torrential raining like all night long.
Okay.
And, when you think that a lot of times weather systems move from west to east, and when you look at the shape of the glen that the French were in, they were largely encamped up against the east facing wall of like a kind of like a cliff face.
Right.
So they're not skulking in a low place. And then not only that, there's even later a French account where they say like we built cabins is the word they use. I mean, think probably more like brush shelters kind of thing.
Sure.
Right.
But they're not skulking in a low place. They're not trying to hide their intention. They're just trying to stay dry.
Literally, yeah.
It's pouring down rain.
Good mid-Atlantic day.
It's pouring down rain, and these are well-experienced, guys to, moving through the woods of North America. So they're like, no, like we're just going to set up like,
in the natural place to get away from the rain.
Right. But then Washington says that he starts out, he calls it a night as black as pitch. So it's very dark, and it's like so dark too that like even they're even like losing their way along.
Is this where pitch black comes from? Did he invent that?
He didn't invent it. That's just pitch,
okay. Just like when you said night as black as pitch, I'm like, wait, is that where the expression? Did he invent the expression?
Yeah, but it's talking about like pitch.
I know.
And and pitch is black.
Yeah.
So if you're just like, but he didn't invent the expression.
That's what I'm asking. I'm just asking, did he invent the expression?
Yeah, they were like, wow, that's a cool turn of phrase.
Yeah, it's like he said it and somebody was like, son of a bitch.
Well, now I have to look
pitch
that
black.
up.
Write that down.
As black as pitch.
But that's what makes our the fort's pretty full comment so fun. It's like he didn't even have time for all that flowery. He's like, the fort's full.
Right.
Busy.
I have an update.
Okay.
I asked the Googles on the internets.
Where
did the phrase pitch black come from?
Vin Diesel.
The earliest known use of the word pitch black is in the late 1500s.
So not George.
Its earliest evidence for pitch black is from 1598 in the writing of John Marston, poet and playwright.
John Marston.
That was my poor attempt at John Marston.
I got to play that game. All right, so back into it here.
Yeah. By most accounts, Washington is the one who lowers his gun first.
Physically
lowers his gun first and fires at the French while giving the command at the same time for his detachment to fire. So they start firing up towards the north, towards all the French that are kind of stuck in this little gully. And I'm sure at that point too, like that's whenever the French immediately start, screaming "Anglais, Anglais,"
English,
get to your arms. And because it's like they're struggling to get to their arms and everything like that, it's at that point too where Wagoner's detachment just starts opening fire, pouring fire
from above,
like right down on top.
This is where you ruined my joke the other day.
Right? Yeah.
I said Washington's like whatever, and you're like, that's actually Wagoner's.
Right?
I was
Yeah.
like, shut up.
Yeah. And it's like literally like shooting fish in a
He
barrel.
lives in Leesburg, which is kind of the county seat of Loudoun, and is a very revolutionary area. Loudoun is very revolutionary. There's not a ton of loyalists. If there are, again, they're not speaking up. They're raising up troops. So once we get into 1775, which is kind of the period we're talking about now, when the war begins, they're raising up troops left and right, and loyalists are not going to be treated with civility. He actually also writes, I've got another quote.
Yes!
So he writes in his diary what the experience is for people like him who might be loyal. He says, "This is the happy fruits of independence. The populace are grown so insolent that that if you do not tacitly submit to every insult or imposition they think proper, they immediately call you a Tory and think that if you have that stigma upon your character, they have the right, nay, they take it to even be a meritorious act to knock your brains out."
So can I say something a little
Yeah.
dark and ominous, Ian?
Yeah.
That sounds kind of familiar. Right. There's a bunch of people out there that are super patriotic that way today. I now wonder aloud how far off base they are from the original founding.
Certain ones, maybe not so much.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
but like this, the way you said that, right? Like it's funny to me because there's a whole hypocrisy to the founding of our nation. And again, that's a much deeper conversation, but we're founded on all these things like freedoms of this, freedoms of that, freedoms of even just having an opinion, right? But yet Tory newspapers are going to be burned. You speak up your mind just on the street corner, you're getting popped in the face.
Yeah.
And it's pretty wild, but we want freedom, but shut your face. Shut it if you disagree with me, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's definitely a dark moment
Yeah.
if you aren't on board. And that's why, we say 15 or 20%. It could be a little bit larger than that, but again, by and large, you're keeping quiet. If you're not in a loyalist hub,
Right.
say the Tidewater area,
It's certainly a minority.
Yeah. So that loyalist we mentioned earlier from Leesburg, Nicholas Cresswell, who keeps this diary, he actually mentions seeing some of these Highland prisoners later on in his journal. Yeah, and it's a very different experience than Angus MacLeod's.
Okay.
So he says, "I saw a Highlander, a soldier of the 71st Regiment, now a prisoner of war here, being whipped by his comrades for enlisting into rebel services. His fellow prisoners held a court-martial over him, a sergeant being the highest officer present, and condemned for the poor wretch to receive 1,500 lashes with a switch upon his bare back, 100 every day until the number was complete."
1,500?
1,500.
Also, what are the Scottish so pissed off for? It's not even like this is their fight. They're just doing their what's going on?
That's a great point that you bring up, but by this point, it is very much their fight.
Is it?
Yeah, Scots Highlanders.
A year into it.
What's that?
Like just a year into it.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Well, so
lay it out for me.
Yeah,
then.
What I was addressing is, by this point, the Scots are so heavily ingratiated and so heavily involved in this movement for King George because they've got to prove themselves. They want to prove themselves. Basically, for the last 35, 40 years, since the last Jacobite rebellion that began in 1745, the last Scottish rebellion that happens, they've been forgiven. They want to prove themselves as part of the British Army, part of the British government, and so they're pretty hardcore about supporting that.
So are all Scottish people suffering from Stockholm Syndrome? Like, is that what's happening?
2025 was also a scorcher of a summer season. And as things get hot, Parker and I start to think about things on the grill. Barbecue is our game. So we thought about grilling history, an old concept Parker Russell used to pioneer back with the thing called Parker Meets History, where he would cook up meats and basically tell historical stories or have historical laughs. And we thought that's basically what we do with our friends anyway when we just get together without intending to produce podcasts or YouTube shows and things like that. So we thought, why not just throw some mics and cameras on it and film us basically grilling history, which is what we do, standing around a grill, drinking our libations as they are, and also just kind of sharing the work that we've been doing, also sharing the stories that we've been interested in. And this summer, it was an absolutely incredible experience to spend the inaugural run of Grilling History with some of our best friends, exploring some, at times, pretty zany stories. Let's take a look.
So if you wanna have a good time, grill the meat again, grill the meat again, grill the meat again. I wanna catch a devil if you wanna have fun, wanna smell hell, grill the meat again.
We're here today to do two simple things: to make something fun and yummy and delicious here in a casual backyard grilling
That's the hope,
setting.
anyway.
We're also here to tell a story. So word is making its way back to Lincoln. Oh, we got a fire there.
flame.
Is that bad? Oh, man.
And that was a little tight, but these guys are going to go right in here. I'll tell you what, if you want to risk burning your fingers, they are intent on getting Florida back. You know, make Florida Spain again. So the governor of Louisiana, Bernardo de Galvez, puts together this army in New Orleans. It's like Spanish regulars, natives. He's got a regiment of free Africans from Cuba who are there. Like, it's like this motley assortment of like American frontiersmen, whoever he can pull together.
All right.
There's actually an Irish regiment there.
We're in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. We're on the Gettysburg battlefield, and we are joined by our very good friend, past guest of the show, absolute fucking legend, Rich Condon.
Oh, wow, that looks great.
Honestly, that looks banging.
That looks really good.
Cheers that.
Oh,
my God, Rich. Welcome, everyone, back to the 2025 Backyard Classic. We have Parker Russell here approaching the green. Let's take a look in. All right. And he's going for the scoop, the shuffle, and the delivery. Oh, excellent. Patty 1 is on the plate. And number 2 now. Oh, and the presentation. Maybe you should present it to the camera behind you so you could see it better.
Good idea.
Yeah. You can't actually talk to the golfer on the green. Oh my, look at that. Oh, that's fantastic.
Had an assist there.
And on the final shot. And incredible. And he puts that one in for birdie here at the 2025 Backyard Classic. I'm Pat McGuire. We'll see you next time. Mine is just your standard cheddar cheeseburger. Oh, look at that. Oh, the dismount is where we will struggle with mine.
I did shift to Cooking with the Caliatron Girls, and then most recently Cooking with the Gadget Gals, the ladies of Los Alamos. So really a big focus on untold stories of the women of the Manhattan Project, but especially here in Oak Ridge, using the cookbook Cooking Behind the Fence. And that was compiled by ladies in the 43 Club. So they were some of the first ladies here in the city. It's a really cool cookbook because it not only has recipes, but it also has stories that are associated with these women and the recipes, and really shows what life was like in Oak Ridge and the Secret City back during the Manhattan Project and World War II.
So all the lighthouses are ordered to be dismantled. And in June of 1861, a machinist from the town of Washington, which the locals like to call the original Washington, but it's a small town on the Pamlico River, about 65, 70 miles west of Cape Hatteras. A machinist and the local lighthouse superintendent go out to Cape Hatteras, and they work with the keeper of the lighthouse and dismantle the lens. Now, dismantling the lens is a very complicated procedure. Now, it can all be taken apart so each one of these is a panel that can be removed. But what you have to do, if you know what you're doing, is you take out one on this side, then you take out one on this side, because the whole machine needs to be kept in balance.
Right.
You know, you don't want it to start getting lopsided or whatever. So they knew what they were doing.
You said 6,000 pounds. That's why the weight balance is important, right?
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
Here's a photograph in my book, and there's a lighthouse keeper polishing, and this is exactly a first order Fresnel lens. That's exactly what the Cape Hatteras lens would have looked like.
Huge. Can I break in?
Yeah.
Thank God it's not named after Joshua Lawrence
And
Chamberlain.
as we are getting back into the swing of things and back into the school routines, I wanted to share a few healthy habits for back to school success.
Welcome to Campfire Ghost Stories. Legend of Old Green Eyes begins on Snodgrass Hill, where soldiers from both sides reported seeing a strange figure at dusk. They described it as tall and gaunt, with long, stringy black hair, a grotesquely deformed jaw with fangs that protruded from its mouth, and those piercing, glowing green eyes.
In 1983, a battlefield employee named Christine Hope was living at the stone house. She awoke one cold, crisp autumn night at approximately 2 a.m., startled by the otherworldly image of a man. The man did not speak, but his face bore a mustache and an unmistakable expression of pain. As Christine Hope was later doing research into the men who died at the Battle of Little Bighorn, she happened upon a picture of one Lieutenant Benjamin H. Hodgson, whom she claimed she recognized as the uninvited guest in her room.
It's July 11th, 1881. Prince George of Wales, the young man who will one day wear the crown, is serving aboard the HMS Bacante with his brother Prince Albert. The night is calm, the sea was still, and then just before dawn at around 4 a.m., the Flying Dutchman crossed our bows. A strange light, as of a phantom ship all aglow, in the midst of which light the masts, spars, and sails of a brig, 200 yards distant, stood out in strong relief. But the story doesn't end there. At 10:45 a.m. that very day, the lookout who first reported the ghost ship fell from the mast and was killed instantly. To the sailors aboard, the meaning was clear. Seeing the Flying Dutchman was a curse, a harbinger of doom.
In February of 1978, the Cunard liner QE-2 was cruising the North Atlantic. On this otherwise unremarkable evening, they received an unusual distress call across a staticky, antiquated radio frequency. The message said, "Come quick, distress. Boiler rooms flooded. The ship is sinking." Stunned, the radio operator replied, "What is the name of your ship?" Then came the single word reply, "Titanic."
The horse suddenly stopped and gave a snort of terror. Looking up, we beheld three strange beings. They resembled humans in many respects, but still, they were not like anything I had ever seen.
And once each year, on the Festival of Samhain, the door between the worlds opened. On that night, the stories say terrible things spilled forth from Oanagat. Spectral birds whose breath withered the land. A herd of crimson pigs that devoured the harvest. A monstrous cat-like creature that roamed the night, its eyes burning like coals. And sometimes, emerging with them, came the Morrigan, or Na Marinia.
But we can go back even further, to be honest with you. We're talking about Lord of the Rings. We're talking about J.R.R. Tolkien.
Hell yeah.
Huge into what people wanted. I'm forgetting his name right now, but Conan the Barbarian. And stuff like that. So you got sword and sorcery, and then you've got high fantasy. That's what that is. Conan the Barbarian, sword and sorcery. Tolkien and his works, high fantasy. And so at the beginning of Dungeons and Dragons in the late 60s, you're talking about sword and sorcery. I've got this muscly man because I am nothing close to it. And what I want to do is I want to go with my friend who really likes math and wants to like juggle fireballs, and I want to kick a door open. I want to slice something up. I want to get the maiden. I want to get the gold, and I want to drink.
Hell yeah! Hell yeah!
And that's the beginning. That's
should be president.
That is just yeah.
I mean, you should be. That's a platform to run on. Lastly, the radar tower in Roswell noted that at 11:27 p.m., the mysterious object was over Corona, New Mexico, when it suddenly began to pulsate a number of times and then disappeared completely from the radar. The following morning, on July 5th, 1947, sheep herder Jason Ridgway discovered the strange wreckage of what he described as a crashed saucer. As Ridgway was processing what lay in his pasture, a group of archaeologists who were working nearby and also observed the streaking light in the sky the night before stumbled upon the crash site where, after some bewilderment and discussion, they sent someone to town to call Sheriff George Wilcox and report the downed craft. To respond, Sheriff Wilcox called the local fire department, where crew chief Dan Dwyer and firefighter Lee Reeves were dispatched with the station's tanker, and accompanying the sheriff and a number of deputies arrived on the scene just before dawn. The breaking light revealed twisted and burning wreckage strewn across the field. What they witnessed was something totally unexpected. It wasn't an airplane at all, but rather it was flat and egg-shaped. More disturbingly, Chief Dwyer could see 3 diminutive humanoid beings laying in the lee of the craft, and with his focus riveted on the craft and the strange bodies on the ground, Dwyer noticed a movement out of the corner of his eye. There, walking in front of him, seemingly from out of nowhere, was something right out of a science fiction novel. According to the fireman, it was about the size of a 10-year-old child, with grayish skin, no hair, and a large head with large eyes.
They bring the McCoy boys here in West Virginia, and they hold them at a schoolhouse, which is in a town we call Mate One. And he holds them there till he finds out if Ellison lives or dies. Now, keep in mind, this was done in broad daylight, hundreds of, people seeing this happen at this big event. It wasn't a secret, and it was very clear they were guilty. However, they did not have a trial and be found guilty by a jury and all that like they should have. Sure. So again, the Logan Wildcats was kind of the law and order at the time, right? So anything Devilance done was seen by the Wildcats, which was supposedly legal in West Virginia, but not Kentucky, right? So they held them on the West Virginia side of the river, and they kept begging for Devilance to give the kids back, and they said they deserved to get justice in Kentucky, not West Virginia. He said, "I promise you, they will serve their justice in Kentucky, no problem. But I need to see if my brother lives or dies from this situation before we can figure things out." So they held the boys captive. I think it's about 3 days, and he bled out and died. So at that point, it was time for them to meet their judge, jury, and executioner, which was Devilance.
So that was the deal, was if he lives, you live, and go, you live long enough to go through the court process. If he dies, this is your end right here.
Yeah, but that's not what he told Kentucky, but yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You can't tell that to Kentucky, because then, that's like technically the law.
Right. So
what
they did was create a legal nightmare, and they took the boys and tied them to what we call pawpaw trees. It's a tree that produces a fruit. And they tied them to the pawpaw trees and basically shot them but they tied them to the pawpaw trees on the Kentucky side of the river, stood on the West Virginia side of the river, and shot across the river and executed them.
What part of New England do you hail from? We know very well established territory that Parker is from Maine. Are you from Maine?
No, but I'm very familiar with Maine.
Okay.
I'm actually from Rhode Island.
Rhode Island.
Rhode Island. It's neither a road or an island.
And it's very teeny weeny.
And it's still more significant than Delaware, so it's totally fine.
But yeah, very familiar with Maine. What part of Maine are you from?
I was born in Blue Hill Hospital. Oh, cue the sunrise music. Here we go. I was born on a cold October's day in the middle of January.
This is the Shorty Boy show. It was a show where like this guy, he takes cabins, like he takes like old cabins and he like refurbishes them.
Oh, cool.
And I'm like, yeah, he really interesting. But he went kind of on like this like side quest on the show, and he ended up visiting this business that makes the kind of history nerd like neon flashing sign. And by what I mean by that are the historical markers. So,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So how many times have you been driving down the road and you'll see one and, you know, screech?
Yeah.
You never know, like, where the hell do these things come from? So
Right.
apparently it's this company based out of Marietta, Ohio called Siwa Signs. And they're the one company, I guess, that makes like the most historical markers in the whole country.
Whoa.
So like basically, if you see like a historical marker sign, like, I don't know, I've seen them, you know, down in South Carolina, Virginia, Rhode Island, all up the East Coast. They're responsible for making these signs.
So I didn't realize that it was like A, an industry behind that.
Yes. Yeah.
And B, that there might be more than one company that does that.
Yeah.
And that there is an industry titan.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was sitting across from you last time, and you made a statement, and you made a joke, and I laughed so hard I went home the next day and I made something.
I'm very nervous.
So this is great television right here, and I don't have my peepers on.
Do you need me?
Does that say L?
That is an XL.
That is an XL. This is for you, sir.
Okay, that is because I'm the fat one.
Don't unfold it yet. wait, no, wait. That actually. No, this is for you.
Okay, jeepers.
That's a 2X, just for the
Okay,
record.
okay.
There you go,
Right.
sir.
So do we?
So
do
go
we
ahead
do
and
this
open them up, and
concurrently?
I'm wearing
Ken,
mine.
When you open yours, the camera you want to show it to is that one right there.
I'm just going to reveal mine. You guys go ahead and look first before I reveal my.
Parker, you're we're looking over here. All right, we doing it?
Oh my God, I love it. That's awesome.
Look what he's got in his hand there.
That's great. Oh, we're going to talk about him more today, too.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, I love this.
A ratio game.
Okay.
Yes. This is, yeah. That's,
Oh, Parker, I love that. That's great.
Dude,
Yes. Thank you.
This is going on under my guide uniform
Awesome.
at the next tour
Awesome.
that I give.
Fantastic.
This is
Awesome.
great,
The
dude.
1870s, he's like that guy that people want. So he's going to do all these massive centennial speeches. So he comes to Valley Forge, and at the very end of his very long speech, he says the following: "The age in which we live is but a link in the endless and eternal chain. Our lives are like the sands upon the shore. Our voices like the breath of the summer breeze that stirs the leaf for a moment and is then forgotten. Whence we have come and whither we shall go, not one of us can tell. And the last survivor of the mighty multitude shall stay but a little while. But in the impenetrable to be, the endless generations are taking our place to advance as we fall. For them, as for us, shall the earth roll on, and the seasons come and go, the snowflakes fall, the flowers bloom, and the harvests be gathered in. For them, as for us, shall the sun, like the life of man, rise out of darkness in the morning and sink into darkness in the night. For them, as for us, shall the years march by in the sublime procession of the ages. And here, in this place of sacrifice, in this vale of humiliation, in this valley of the shadow of that death out of which the life of America arose regenerate and free, let us believe with an abiding faith that to them union will seem as dear, and liberty as sweet, and progress as glorious as they were to our fathers and are to you and me, and that the institutions which have made us happy, preserved by the virtue of our children, shall bless the remotest generations of the time to come." Henry Armit Brown developed typhoid fever and died less than 2 months later on August 21st of 1878. That was his last public speech. He left behind a wife and a daughter, and his second child was born 1 week after his death.
That was incredible. And it was
By the way,
108
yeah,
degrees that day.
We would never ask anyone to turn off their HVAC unit.
No.
For any reason at all.
But if you want to
in that
know, if you
weather.
want any proof that we were like, if you think we were embellishing how hot it was when we say that it was legitimately north of 100, like before the heat index, Rich's air conditioning runs the entire episode.
Nonstop.
It never stops because it was that friggin' hot. So we learned
It was hot.
atmospheric, and then we also learned that the sun beats down on the equipment, so we had to cover the cameras. So we learned a whole lot of that.
That was fun.
And then with our, we actually didn't really have too many sort of learning experiences with the 18th century one.
Well, that was because we were back in time, and it was
That's
so much
right.
simpler to run the
So much
machines back
simpler,
then.
yeah. What is this
I mean, we did have to learn, like, I had to learn how to run the time machine.
That was fun. You did definitely mess up. Like I said, read the labels, and you were like, I've run a grill before, whatever. And
Yeah.
dude, I got 10 steps away, and you sent us back.
Yeah, that's, you know,
Like
but-
when we
but
do
now
end
that
of
we
year, when
know-
we do end of year reviews, and I do employee reviews.
That's probably going to be.
We're gonna talk about that.
That's probably going to be on my old.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah, shoot.
Yeah, you're gonna get a performance plan over that one. Maybe.
Well, hey, we made it back.
We did make it back.
I got you back,
and we didn't even put that one in the episode how we got back because I don't know that I'm ready to share the odyssey of
I'm not ready.
returning.
I'm not sure if I'm ready to talk about it.
Right. So we're gonna move on from that.
I did some things,
And then we learned.
You did some things.
Yeah, but you did things for love of the game. I did them for the desperation of getting home. So there's a difference between you and me. Oh man, season 6 has been an absolutely fantastic experience, honestly. It's been great to get to know Parker in a new way across from me as a co-host of the show. It's been great to continue having such rich conversations with both new and old friends. In order to keep doing that, the show needs to always be operated behind the scenes in a healthy state. Season 7 on the show is going to be very exciting. I look forward to continuing to have amazing conversations with so many of our friends. I look forward to moving into new places that the show hasn't gone before. I look forward to grilling meats and getting out into the field and exploring these places tangibly, not just from the comfy chairs here in the War Department studios. But what that's going to look like might look like a little less than it has over the last couple seasons. As the show has evolved, so has my life. And it's time that we should probably put these things in their proper places. And so I started the podcast in 2020 with my friend Matt Borders, former co-host of the show, to basically find my way into this world of public interpretation and storytelling that so many of my friends were in professionally, mainly because they made the traditional and correct choice to continue their education immediately after high school and go to college, which I did not. I just went into music and I followed the school of rock and roll and anarchy for many years. But we started this show mainly because I wanted to tell stories. I've always fancied myself as a storyteller and have worked very hard to hone my craft and model myself and work alongside and learn from some people that are absolutely brilliant, that are not only my colleagues, which I'm privileged to say, but more personally, they're my friends. And along the way, my life changed from where I was a roofer working in home remodeling, and I was working with my friend who's a park ranger, and I was doing this in his podcast to scratch my interpretive itch. I was able to work hard enough to get myself actually into the field of professional history. And I work as a frontline interpreter. Public storytelling, public history is what I get to do now professionally. It's a dream come true, to be completely honest. Don't follow that dream for the money, but follow it if you're if you're one of those people like me who plays for the love of the game. But what it has done is also it has grown, not just because the place I work at specifically, things evolve all the time, but also the moment historically has shifted. So working at an 18th century site, living in the here and now as our country moves into its semi-centennial, the 250th observation of the revolutionary founding of our country, our site's about to get pretty busy. So we have a lot more responsibilities that will require delicate and intentional attention. So I will need to be more present for that. I'm also a husband and father who have a young and growing family that requires a ton of attention. And so do you guys, my listeners, that I'm very, very grateful for staying with us for 6 seasons, and also those of you who have joined us along the way. It's been a very surreal experience
to start a show with my friends kind of hovering around a single mic, as we've kind of talked about a lot, and then grow it into a place with a purpose-built set and listeners all around the world. We've literally been listened to on every single continent. Remember, hashtag Let's Get Antarctica. What's going on down there? Some scientists reach out. So what we're going to do in season 7 is we're just going to commit to delivering the best material I can for you guys on a monthly basis. I don't know if it will be 30 episodes like it has been, but what I can guarantee is we're going to talk to amazing people. We're going to tell amazing stories. We're going to get out in the field. We're going to grill some history, but who knows what the world's going to look like. All I know is it's going to be behind the scenes production wise in a way that works for myself, for Parker, our families, and our professional lives. So wanted to basically say Sláinte and Tancha, cheers, happy everything to everybody who's been along the way for season 6. The future is completely unknown, and I am excited for it. And I look forward to hanging out with you guys in 2026. Conversations with friends like Cody Age, Eric Money, and Kyle Dalton are on deck, plus so many more. So hug your loved ones tight, guys. Let's step into 2026 on the right foot. Surround everybody with love, everything with love. Slangafol. We'll see you all later.